Hey, look, I know who we with today, and I know where he from, so I definitely had to put on one of the best ever. Guru, Game Star, Massive Appeal, baby. Welcome to another episode of Live at the Family Barbecue. It's your boy, A. Sultan and
Imani Shani. Hello.
And we are glad to have all of you listening today. We're here with a special guest, a positive brother, good brother. Met him on the elevator in the building, instantly connected. You know, black men, hey, we got to talk to each other. Show love when we see each other, and you never know what could come from it, man. So I'm honored.
Big facts.
Hey, look, I'm honored to meet the man himself. Fred, welcome to the show. What's happening?
Appreciate it. And if I could start it off real quick.
Do your thing.
That moment in the elevator, I'm going to start it off like this. I almost manifested this whole moment. Because here's what was happening.
Talk to me.
On the moment, I got out of my apartment. I was texting some of my business partners, and I was telling like, yeah, podcast, like we gotta get the word out, whoop-de-whoop. And I was wearing a Flourish Factory hat.
Yup.
And we were talking about like, I gotta send you more hats, and we gotta do all these things.
Yeah.
I'm really in the moment of like, yeah, we just gotta figure all these things out. And it was late.
Yeah,
it was like an evening. So I'm actually about to go to the office.
Wow.
To do a little night shift. So I'm walking, and I get into the elevator, and I see you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we don't say nothing to each other. I don't say nothing, because I'm so in my, and you was just like, yo, I like that hat.
That's it.
And it broke, like, my whole, like, I said, oh, you do? All right, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm trying to do it. You going to the cell? I damn near almost gave him the hat off my head.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, nah, I'll get you on, I'll switch your information. And it wasn't until this morning that I was laughing about that. I was like, because we had another meeting and we were talking about it. And I was like, I'm actually about to do a podcast. Yeah. And it hit me and it was like, so black men talk to each other because you never know the thing you're looking for may be right there. You know what I mean? So,
hey,
talk.
Show love, admiration. If you think somebody wearing some fly shit, tell them.
Yeah.
You like their show, their shoes, whatever. They cologne, they perfume, whatever it is. So but it's an honor to have you here, man.
I love that. I love that you started off with that because I didn't know that. I was about to ask how y'all know each other. I'm like, y'all work together? Like, how y'all know each other?
Big random man, but my man is the founder and creative mind behind the Flourish Factory.
Yes, sir.
But there's so many other levels to you. I'm glad you sent me that bio too, man, because we got a lot in common. But I want you to just say how we got to this point. This is how we always started off. Like, how did Fred get from the crib to right here?
For sure. So originally the crib is Lynn, Massachusetts. Shout out to my people, Lynn, Mass, is watching this.
Yes, sir.
And I was born and raised there, Haitian parents. You know what I mean? Shout out to my Zoes out there. Yeah. And so I was there, grew up there, and I think after college, I had come back and worked in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? At my home church, they gave me an opportunity to run an after-school program in the city. And so I was able to really put all my entrepreneurial juices into that. You know what I mean? I had a full reading program with the kids. We opened up another site, and then I was able to grow it out. And then I got it to a point where I was like, is this what I want to do? You know what I mean? But I still had a little bit of a hustle in me. I still had a little bit of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And so I tried to go to essentially I went to BU for this graduate program. And then I learned about tech. And I was like, okay, I started listening to podcasts about tech and people making money and Mark Zuckerberg and everyone. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Right. I need to go, I want to go do it. You know what I mean? It was like, in my mind, I wanted to be Mark Zuckerberg, Diddy, and Jay-Z. I was
all in one.
I was like, that's who I am. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so I started a brand called For the Culture. This was my first company. I started with my sister, my cousin, and my families. And it was around 2016. Yeah. Y'all family?
That's my sister.
Oh!
Yeah. We got it.
Who's the oldest? Who's the older one?
Me.
Yes.
You are?
Dang.
Okay. Now that makes sense because she just be coming right at you. And that's how she's coming right to your neck.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it is. That's how, with my little sister. So we was doing it, and it was called For the Culture. And this was around 2016, right, where Trump is talking crazy. Yeah. He's talking greasy, like at a point where we've never seen anyone talk this greasy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it was like, we need a voice. Yeah. You know? And so we started having people sending blogs, and then Instagram was new. This is Instagram's really popping off, but people weren't going like viral. There was no such thing as a real influencer at this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we started a page and we started putting out news, and like our friends was writing blogs, and it became a thing. I was like, I'm Ned. I'm about to be Mark Zuckerberg. I was like there, right? So we had a brand, and then we was selling T-shirts that said "For the Culture," and people were wearing them in the city, and it was live. And I was like, I gotta scale this. Right. So like, I was a little dramatic, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go to Silicon Valley, and like learn how to build this out. So boom, I quit all my stuff. I had a couple boys in that were there, and they were Oakland. So I said, bet. I sold everything. I moved to Oakland, and I tried to get the brand up. Long story short, I really didn't understand enough on how to scale. You know what I mean? At the same time, you had to get advertisement dollars, and I didn't want to go that route because I wanted the brand to be pure, and I wanted it to be for us. Right. And so through that process, I learned a lot, but then I ended up in the Bay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Shout out to Oakland, shout out to the town, because when I got there, it was just like, I was like, this is where I need to be. And then shout out to the homies that like were already in the Bay with me, so they really received me. Yeah. I slept on a couch for a little bit. I was looking for a job. I was trying to figure it out. I was like downtown San Francisco backpack, just trying to like, you know what I mean?
We all go through that.
Like applying on jobs, like 100 apply, you know what I mean? Just really trying to figure it out. Worked at a couple startups. Then I got this, I went to go have drinks with the old college friend of mine. And I was like, yo, I'm looking for a job right now, whoop de whoop. And he was like, hey man, it'll work out. Yeah. I was like, it needs to work out, you know what I mean? And then at that time, I had ran out of money for the company, so we was kind of folding that. So it was just like, I was in a weird space. It was kind of like, it wasn't that I was stuck in the Bay, but it was just like I had came to the Bay to do something, and that thing kind of was like kind of folding, and I didn't have enough energy to push it, you know. And I think that like as entrepreneurs, sometimes when you want to build something and you have to realize that you got to put that to sleep a little bit, you know, it hurts. And at the same time, when you try to do something because you want to pay the bills, so, okay, cool. I got lucky that couple weeks later, he forwarded me an email. It was a recruiter, and they were like, yo, whoop-de-whoop, there's a job that, like, there's a recruiting job that you can go for, a technical recruiting job at a company called Asana. Okay. You know what I mean? And Asana is actually, the founders of Asana are actually, one of them is Dustin Moskovitz, who is, like, Mark Zuckerberg's roommate. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he started a work management company, and I was already using that to, like, work with my team back home. Yeah. So I said, I know the product, I know the company, let me pull up. You know, I went in, interview on Friday. They called me back on Monday, like, yo, we love you. I said, bet. We go. Super great opportunity. The whole thing changed my life. You know what I mean? I got the opportunity to work at one of the best startups, one of the best places to work in the Bay Area, 5 years in a row. You know what I mean? When I got there, we were 400 employees. And then I was part of the team to help us grow it to now we're a little under 2,000 employees. So we did that in like 3 years. I helped scale like a web engineering department, an enterprise technology department. And then at the same time, I just recently did an enterprise sales team. So it was like, I really got to be in the beast. Yeah. I got to see like tech move. I got to see like how people like actually scale companies and their thought processes. And so I got to be in there and really look at it, and it was just like, life-changing experience. Yeah. Wow. And then what happened was that at the same time, I guess like I still had a taste for entrepreneurship. I'm still like trying to hustle. At the same time, I'm still on the side selling T-shirts. Yeah. I'm still on the side like helping my boys trying to start their own little brands. And then what I've seen is that like all of a sudden there was a rise in us. Yeah. Us, right? We started making all these brands. I started seeing everyone like coming up with their own stuff. And from my experience at the Flourish Factory, I was like, hell yeah, we should be doing this. I will always say, like, there's like a lot of memes that come out that say a black business doesn't mean you sell a hoodie for $50. Right? I say, yes, it does. Right. You know what I mean? I'm all with that. I was straight T-shirt in the trunk. That's how I was doing it. And I love when people do that. And when you go to places like Lamar, when you go to Oakland, right? When you go to the lake, like everyone's selling stuff. And so it hit me. It said like, yo, who's really doing it for us, right? There's Etsy. But who's really like building something for us? So we can really scale our businesses and make a little bit of money. Right. You know, and so for the last year and a half, I've been studying it. I've been trying to grow it. I've been like, okay, like, does this make sense? Right? Like, are we growing? As you can see, there's been successful like black marketplaces, live marketplaces in LA right now. Right. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, so like a lot of what the Flourish Factory is trying to grow something within that vein of like our own marketplace on a greater scale, but also curating it, right? Because now we have everyone that has started all these different businesses, and they said, okay, like who's the best one? Right. Like, right, what's quality? You know what I mean? So we want to come in. It's funny, I've been telling people, I want to be like the DJ Khaled of Etsy.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I want to pick out the best ones
right.
and give you like the best products and to be able to show you that. But leaning back on my tech background, how to build you a good platform so you can find it so the user experience is dope. You know, I just want to bring that level of it. So that's how we got here, how we got to LA. You know, it's a long story, COVID, love, and life. You know what I mean? So it's good.
Yeah, that's how we got here too.
No, real talk. So you touched on something that's interesting to me because, you know, us being from the Bay too, we got a lot of friends like in tech, and we always hear about how those black spaces, like it's hard to find blacks in tech and how hard it is when you actually in those rooms. What did you learn from that experience, you know, outside of just seeing how they built them up and what it takes? Like, what are some of the most important things you think you took from that experience and brought over into yours?
I think one of the biggest things I'll say is that like we can do it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? A lot of what they had was access and access to capital. Because when you got the money, you can make a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? When you got the bag, you can mess up, right? Like what they say, they don't mess up. It's called A/B testing.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, I'm A/B testing. I'm like, you just messed up a lot.
Right.
But it's like, you know what I mean? But it's like the whole thought process is you got to mess up a lot to find that one good one.
Yeah.
That one good way to make things happen. So I think that like we can do it. We just haven't had the access.
Yeah.
And the access to capital so that we can make those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that like I think that we have to get past to a point of like you know, you got to keep things lean. You have, actually, you can't skip steps in a certain way, right? So it's like you have to do things at a very basic level and then build from there. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of us have visionaries and we about to have the biggest company and the biggest things. And it's just like you got to like start it from a very small level and then increase it at times and figure out what works. Yeah. You know, so yeah. So
like that's a perfect segue because you, I was reading your bio, you talked and you broke down micro businesses. Talk to us about that, especially in 2020, because I thought that was like you gave me numbers that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. So in the last 2 years, I've been kind of sitting back and doing the research on this. And when we talk about micro businesses, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like when you go to like a place like a Black on the Block, right? Or when you go to like Lamert, like you see people that are like, these are businesses that just have 1 or 2 employees, right? You got your GoDaddy account, you got your website on Shopify, and you got your Instagram account. We all got homegirls and homies that like have little brands, right? That's a micro business, right? And the average micro business is making like what, like $3,000 to $4,000 a year? Yeah. $3,000 to $4,000 a month, excuse me. Right? It's not enough money to like, you're gonna quit your job, but you got a nice little side hustle to make something happen. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the thing about us, what's really happened is that like black people have started the most micro businesses in the last 2 years. Yeah. Right, we went from like 15% to like 26%, and this is from a venture capitalist study. Yeah. Right, like this is like people are like studying this, being like, oh, okay, so there's an increase, right? Like, they really open up these shea butter. You know what I mean? They really opening up here these hat businesses. You know what I mean? So it's like when I realized there's a space in the market that we're actually increasing, and I think 2 things are happening. I think that one, there's an increase in influence of us really wanting to buy black. Yeah. Right? Like there's like an energy there. Cause I mean, like when I was a kid, it wasn't there. Let's be honest. But now it's like, I think our generation is like, we're way more conscious of that. Right. Right. So then now we know like, oh, the homie will probably buy my t-shirt. Right. So let me start something. Right. You know, so now you have a micro business. It's not big enough that you're going to quit your job, but it's enough to make you get your little thing. And so what I think is shifting, what I always say is that like, it's not capitalism, it's commerce that's happening. Right. Because it's a little micro business. It's a business enough for you to do. And so for the Flourish Factory, my goal is to like help these micro businesses as a whole. Right, and if I could help the micro business as a whole, like I may not help you make $1 billion, but imagine if like through our whole network of the Flourish Factory and as a whole, right, we helping you pay your phone bill a little bit more. We giving you the extra $300 or $400 to add to the rent. Right. You know what I mean? That's really what it's about, right? And like one of the phrases I be saying is like from like Haiti to Harlem, from Ghana to Oakland, right? Like black people as a whole, we've always had commerce. Yeah. Everyone's always had their little slice of the pie. Right? It's never been about like, oh, I need to own the whole block. Right. It's always been like, yo, let me get my little store. Right. I'm gonna sell what I'm gonna sell, and then you got a store, and if we need to trade it off, we'll trade it off. But like, we're gonna continue to function. Yeah. I think that like we're starting to go back to that. You know what I mean? And so like that, I think the growth of the micro business is happening, but it's like there also has to be quality control.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But there also has to be someone that's gonna hopefully uplift the whole culture, you know what I mean? And that's what we would like to do. We want the Flourish Factory to be a space where you can grow, you know, because flourish, the term flourish, that's my life mantra. You know what I mean? And to flourish is growth, but it's not any type of growth. You feel me?
Yeah.
It's to grow in a healthy and vigorous way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we want to help these businesses scale themselves out. We want to help them grow, right? But we want to help set up a favorable environment.
Right.
We want to be like, okay, like what's your issue? What's really happening? Or you need to scale, or you need some more product. All right, cool. Let's help do the research. You know what I mean? And do that. Or like you need some marketing. You need a shooter. Okay, like let's put that together to like get those things going. You know?
Yeah.
So
And I think that's important too, like what you just said about just helping them grow. Because I think, you know, you lose all of those businesses so early, and it's like a lot of our counterparts, like you said, they may not have that problem. You know, when you got that funding, you got different type of people backing you, giving you resources, you know, so to even be able to, like you said, have someone who can provide you with a shooter, you know, have someone who can help you with like your business plan, you know, where you want to see the trajectory of this in a year or two. Because I think a lot of times it's like we don't have any help with that planning stage. When you get that plan down, it gives you something to follow. And if you don't have that, it's just like you said, it's doomed to fail.
yeah, you just stuck with something.
Right.
Right? Or maybe you don't want to do it. You want to sell it.
Yeah.
You don't come out with a hot shirt concept. You done sold 500 shirts and you done with it.
Yeah.
What happens now?
Right. Yeah.
It may still be a hot shirt concept, but you know what's gonna happen? She ain't gonna get on your website. They're gonna copy you, and they just gonna print that shirt out.
Right.
That's a fact.
Right? So it's like we need to like balance that out to be like, okay, like let's keep that in a space so you can continue to get your money, right? Because what I see, so when we grew up, right, everyone wanted to be a rapper. Right? Like everyone wanted to be a rapper, and so like there were record labels.
Yeah.
So the way I saw it was like, where is the record label for these new micro businesses?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, like let's put that together because like everyone now wants to be a creative. Right, that's the thing. Like you want to be a creative, you want to create products. So it's like, okay, like who helps assist and uplift that whole thing?
Right.
You know, so we're trying to fill that space. It's definitely still new. It's definitely something that like every day something new's popping up. I mean, like even like Diddy just bought the Now List, which is another black marketplace.
Okay.
And him and Salesforce are building a whole black marketplace. Right? And I think he bought them last June.
Okay.
You know, so it's like, this thing is a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an energy.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, like this is Jenkin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, how can I get my little slice of the pie with my little portfolio of people that we helping and we coming to it? You know?
Right. It's a perfect time to be black.
Shit.
It's always a perfect time.
It's
to
been
be
It's always been a perfect
It's
time.
a perfect
Always.
time.
Ain't
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. You know?
Yeah. But
How
now,
big of a like role does social media play in what you do, and like how would businesses go about finding you? Is it a
Sure.
lot heavily social media based?
So that's a two-part question. I'm gonna answer it. The first part is that social media is very important to like obviously get in contact. You know what I mean? Follow us at the Flourish Factory. You know what I mean? But I think that it's also created opportunity, right? Because at first you could just have your own page and you could run up your Facebook ad dollars. And like you're gonna build your business, right? But most recently, about a year ago, there was an iOS update. You know, I don't know if you guys realize with Facebook, right? So Facebook was collecting all our data, and so they could retarget the ads. But what happened with the iOS update? Apple was like, "Yo, Facebook, you can't do that no more." You know what I mean? So now if you're a small business running up, your ad dollars are always going to be going up moving forward because Facebook can't retarget this faster. So now you got to jump on different platforms. Now you got to be on TikTok. Now you got to be on Twitter. Now you got to be on everywhere else because you have to have a multi-channel brand. Right? But like I always tell people, like if you're selling socks, do you got time to make all that content? Do you got time to be on to post on every single platform? Right?
It's
to
a
do
lot.
all those things. So the whole goal is that like if we can come as a group, right? And we could be like, you know, if I could package it like, okay, you got socks, he's selling sneakers, and she's selling laces. I'm gonna take all three, I'm gonna make some content around it, and we're gonna make sure that like we can sell it as a package. You know, so now everybody wins a little bit because you're not gonna buy them separately.
True.
You know, but the creatives are creating separately.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about like hopefully we can, and that's the whole purpose. So social media, huge impact, but the landscape of social media has changed. You know, because even when I first started with For the Culture, like I saw social media go from like people just having pages, right? When we all saw this, to like then there was like the influencers, like the beginning of the influencers,
Yeah,
like you know what I mean, like our favorites, like Cardi.
Right.
Like, y'all remember Cardi when she first started?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was
That's the one who got me on Cardi.
That's
I was
what
like,
I'm saying. That's my girl right
That's
there. You
my
know what I'm
girl,
saying?
too.
Like before the music, she was just Cardi, just like silly. She used to come to Boston all the time, and like and so those they used to go and like you used to be famous on Instagram. What you did, you came to the club,
Right.
and and that's how you really made your bread,
Right.
There was no like marketing or nothing, right? And then what happened? You saw was like them, Shiggy, Haha Davis. They had this big following, but they wasn't making no money. And then so they had to go next place. They had to go to like actually selling a product. Right. So then that's when Flat Tummy Tea.
Right.
You know what I mean? Black
All
China
those
and everybody was like doing that. It was like you on Instagram, but you gotta sell something. You know what I mean, to actually make some money, because you can have 100,000 followers and who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Real talk, man.
And then we're at a place where businesses need to be content creators. Right? So now it's like the whole game is flipped. Like you're not coming to be a content creator to sell anything. It's like, no, like because you're selling something, you have to become a content creator.
Right.
So it's like the game is kind of like, so now you see Instagram just being like, okay, like everyone's starting businesses, selling courses, right? Because it's like, that's the place where you got to sell things at.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like this weird, interesting space. Like, okay, now we ain't just on here having fun and cracking jokes. I mean, we are, but like, they're gonna try to sell you something on the back end, or like that joke got a little link for you to hit. So you know, so
right. And I think, man, I don't know if you touched on this too, or you can, but I think the other thing is too, like, not even just selling a product, but selling the right product. Because I like working in entertainment too myself. Like I've met like plenty of people with like 1 million followers, 2 million, 4 million, but they don't have, like you said, something to sell. Like it might be someone else coming to them with a product, but something that's just them. Like it's hard for them to sometimes come up with something. So that's a space.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think there's a level of like, maybe you're just the entertainer.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Like I think a couple of the people like Haha Davis, like he do comedy shows now.
Right.
Right, you got to find your lane, right? Like the social media is supposed to be your outreach to the people, you know. But I think a lot of people just want to monetize, real quick. You get what I mean? And I'm like, okay, bet. If you want to monetize, let's ride. But like how are you coming to it? If you just on here for jokes, then just do the jokes, and like the money will come because like you actually funny. So if you funny, you need to be in a comedian. You know what I mean? Like if you're an artist, right? And you're an artist. If you're an artist, like social media, you creating that content, but like the way you getting paid is so people can believe in your brand enough to eventually listen to your music.
Right.
You know, so it's like, what's the end result?
Right.
You know, and so as I was learning, I was actually at an accelerator at Impact Hub in Oakland, and that's what I was like really trying to figure out how to monetize. And I realized that like if you don't got no back end, you could be on there and have like 1 million followers, but like you really ain't made $1.
Right.
But you in your house like doing things, and at the same time, I'm gonna say this real. Now some people kind of stuck. They got 1 million followers. They stuck to the engagement, and now they on TikTok.
Right.
Having the, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, is that really what you want to do?
Right. Trying to come up with the next challenge.
Really what you want to do?
Trying to make the next challenge.
You know what I mean? But you stuck now because like this is now your lifestyle.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. How important do you feel it is? Not how important, but talk about the importance of brands telling a story. Like I know that was one thing I had went to. I think it was Complex Con right before.
Take this jacket off. I'm hot.
Yeah, I know it's getting there. I had went to Complex Con right before the pandemic, and Steve Stout was talking about that, like how important it is for brands to be able to tell a story. So do you guys kind of do that as well when the companies or the brands come to you, or like how do you like the content? I guess is what I'm kind of trying to get at.
I think it has to be all about a story.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like everyone wants to know why. So I think we're in a space of, and I think it's us, like millennials, Gen Z, whatever, like we want to know what's behind it. Right? Because you got to think, like anyone could print the shirt out. Like, we got to get back. Anyone could print out a hat. Right? But like the reason why you'll actually want to like wear my hat, the reason why you'll mess with the brand is because you know the story behind it.
Yeah.
You know, the reason why you see a bunch of people with shirts like sayings on their chest is because it's like there's a meaning behind it.
They believe in it.
They believe in it, right? So it's just like no one's being innovative. You know what I mean? But it's like if you have the story, that's the innovation. You know what I mean? And being able to tell your story in a way is like it's super important. You know, and I think that there's different levels of it. You know, I think a brand like Kids of Immigrants, that's a really cool story.
Yeah. I just heard about them not too long ago. Matter of fact,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story to be like, okay, like that's the story you're talking about.
Right.
You know, and I think that so when you look at these different brands, and these are brands that I admire, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You're holding this narrative and you're explaining it in a lot of different ways, and I think that's important. I think that like we all got something to say. We all got something that we trying to figure out. So it's like, why not like try to make it happen? You know, why not tell these stories in a way that for us, to answer your question, to make it, the story has to be part of the brand because that's really what people are buying.
Right.
You know, so.
That's true.
You feel like that's something that you go into it with, or do you feel like it's something you should develop over time, like while you're doing it? Or that the story should be laid out ahead, like so we know exactly how we hitting it?
Nah. I think that like, honestly, I think it's a baker's dozen, right? Like some people got a story and they're like, I'm building this. Like it's like, yo, my little bro, something happened to my little bro. He got leukemia. I got these shirts.
Yeah.
That just kind of happened. You know what I mean? Like some people just, and then you like, someone could resonate with that and that happens. And some people you have to develop through it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there's a perfect answer to that. But I think that like understanding that like your marketing and your branding and what people are actually buying is the story because like, we all going down to the alley to get T-shirts. Yeah. Like you know what I'm saying? We all going to the same thing. So like, what's your differentiator? Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's your story because I think we all unique. Yeah. So like that is actually where you win. You know, and it took a long time for me to understand that because I fought that a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? With my first company, I was like, nah, we don't want to be no T-shirt. You know, but it was just like it was the first. I was just like, I named it For the Culture because you got to think it was a stance because Trump was talking crazy about the culture.
All right.
So when you saw me, I was like, nah, I'm for the culture. Right. So I'll be at the grocery store, you know what I mean? You got your red hat, I got my stuff. Right. We was popping. Right. You know what I'm saying? It was a direct correlation to the red hat. Right. You know what I mean? And that was my story. I wanted to have a story for like, yo, this is where I stand on it. Yeah. You know? So.
That's so crazy because like we had originally, like the podcast came from an online magazine we had. Get Far magazine. And like our whole tagline was, we do this for the culture.
Love it. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like we got a lot of similarities, but like even defining that though, like and it was like that's part of the reason why I said like I hope you start a podcast and we get other people to do it because we have to define the culture. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people here that do it for us. Like we were just talking about the I don't know if you've seen it too, Money, that podcast where the dude spit on the other dude. No. Yeah. So, you know, we get all of these images, you know what I'm saying, of like what our culture is, you know, what our women represent, what black men represent, et cetera, the family. We got so many other people speaking for us. So to be able to have brands, like you said, that can push it. We talk about, like you said, the children's immigrants or, you know, black people in tech, you know, whatever it is, being able to tell all those type of stories is important.
For sure, because we got a voice now. And also the same thing with micro businesses, with our own stories, never in history have we been able to just have access like this with the internet, with Instagram. You pop open your phone, you can start a business, and you have access to a minimum of 1,000 people, right? You can just talk to the homies. Right. Never before. Never. So like now we can actually keep our narratives, right? And so our people, like I would say, our mavericks, right? Like Issa Rae, like she's taken it to such a level of like that's storytelling what she did with Insecure. She told our stories in a way that we were never able to see it. Right. And you guys are doing that in a way that has never been done also. It's like you're allowing people to tell their stories. You know, so I think that like that is, we have the access now. You know, so like it's not that you could be silent. That's fine. You don't have to tell everybody, but like if you want to step up to that plate, you can actually do it now. Like the barrier to entry is like nothing. Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. So even speaking to that point or that portion, what type of businesses do you look for? Because you know it's a lot of businesses out there, obviously. For sure. But which ones like that you kind of pinpoint and look at? Like, what are you looking for in the businesses?
Yeah, so right now we're looking for physical products. Okay. You know, there's a lot of like people selling courses, There's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. We don't do services because it's a little harder to figure out if the service is good. So it's like nothing but physical products. And then specifically in the next year, we're focused in LA.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because we want to make sure we give the time and the space to an actual location and area, right? Because like a LA brand and a LA like ecosystem is going to be different than a Houston, than a New York, than a Miami. You know, so like we're just looking for like physical products. If you're selling apparel, if you're selling health and beauty is big on us. You know what I mean? So it's like those types of products we're gonna focus on, and then hopefully we can expand. You know, but like I said, what I've learned in tech is like you can't serve everybody all this time.
Right.
You got to start like location based is best, but also like having the niche that you can first learn and understand the products, because the problems from a service oriented business versus a product from like an over just having like you just selling shea butter. And I always say shea butter because there's a lot of people selling shea butter. You know what I'm saying?
I got a couple partners that sell shea butter.
But it's good though. But that's what I'm trying to say. I love shea butter. But like, so I'd be like, yo, so who's the best shea butter?
All right.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna have the shea butter off.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. I want to elevate it. Yeah, I'm trying to elevate it to like we have the shea butter off.
Right.
And it's like the top 10 shea butters in LA.
Yeah.
You know, and then like it's passionate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like those types of products that we want to elevate, right? Yeah. Because like that's what we're doing. You know, we're creating. We getting back to like making things with our hands.
Yeah.
So let's celebrate that. You know? So.
And it's like you said, there's so much curation to go on even within that. Like this one always get me on the skincare tip. It's like the shea butter. It's like, okay, but who's better for like dry skin? Who's better for oily skin? Who's better for the dark spots? Like,
your night routine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's two separate things. Night
There's
and
so
day.
much stuff to go into. So, and then how do people, like, do you go and search these businesses out, or do you look for more so people to come to you?
Or nah. So this I guess this goes back from like my technical recruiting base. We just source.
Okay.
Like I'm on, like, you know, I spend time on Instagram and I just look through things. You know, okay, like who's doing well, like because a part of it is that like, do you got the drive? Right? Because like you could come to me, but like, are you actually out here like making the content for your brand? Are you actually selling? Are you at these markets?
Right.
You know, so I've been going to markets in LA for like the last year and a half. Shout out to my girl, because I just be like, come on, babe. You know, like, we going to this market, and I just walk around and I talk to the brands and I figure out what people are doing. So it's a little bit of both. Of course, you could go onto the website and like, you could access us, but a lot of it is just like making sure that like, because we have a qualification process.
Okay,
you know?
there you go.
So we just try to, but we source, and also we have an inbound. But a lot of it is just like, okay, learning through it and seeing who's actually out here hustling and making it happen. You know?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for creators who want to start businesses, but they feel like the market is oversaturated? Like they want to do skincare, but there's so many people coming out with skincare. They want to do a clothing line. Like, what advice do you have for them?
I got two things, and this is like what was told to me. So I'll be honest about it. The first thing is that, you ever been down the bread aisle?
Yeah. It's a million
I'm
different
like,
types
wait,
of bread, baby.
where's the bread aisle?
Yeah, like,
yes,
you know,
I
you go
have.
down the bread aisle
Yes.
at the grocery store, there's a million types of bread. Like, how many times can you do white and wheat?
Right. That's
But
a fact.
everybody got
true.
everybody got their little spin.
That's a fact.
I love that. That's so simple, but like that's such a good like
know,
that
that's
was
a
great.
fact.
Yeah.
And then one thing happened to me. So I was at Asana, right? And I remember
That was real player too. He slid that in. He's like, yo, I was at Asana.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so
Self-care.
I'm talking about the company, though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So-
Asana. Oh, okay. I thought you said I was at the Asana.
Nah. So when I was at Asana, like we were talking about like how we were having these other competitors come on, and I never forget, we were in a meeting, and I remember like someone got up and they were having a conversation, and people were like, well, like, we're having all these competitors and whoop-de-whoop, and everyone was all like kind of nervous. And one of the leaders, he got up and he said, listen, it's all about market share, right? Like, you're not gonna get all 100% of the pie, but like shea butter, hair solutions, that's like $1 billion industry. That's like the market cap on that is a couple billion. So like your little slice of the pie could really be $1 million.
Right.
So you don't have to own everything.
Right.
You just got to get your slice.
Right.
You know, just like I said, for me, it's like, you got to think, I'm working on something that Diddy and Salesforce are actively working on.
Right.
That's fine with me. Let me get my slice of the pie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that like that is that. And the last piece will be like, man, your local rapper, no violation to anybody. Like he's still banging on mixtapes, right? Lil Baby come out, he don't not drop his own stuff.
Right.
right? Like, just because someone else makes another rap album doesn't mean you stop,
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
so it's just like, I think it's that encouragement of like, you have something to offer too.
Right.
You have something of value to give too, you know, but it's easier said than done. And I understand people's hesitations, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, I always said, like, you got to have that confidence in yourself because there's only one you. Like, and you could be the best version of yourself, like, and people will love you for that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you said, you find out how you get in there in your lane, and you can make a living. You can make a living off that.
Like, real quick, you know?
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I always tell people that it's like, you could be, you know, Mos Def, you could be Nas, you could be Jay-Z. All of these dudes is traveling the world. You might not listen to them like that, but they all making money and they all making a living.
Yeah, so I think like that is what you got to do. It is like create it for a purpose or
Right.
for something. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. You have some money? I was gonna get into this. I wanted to see your perspective on this because I had a little bit of a. We're just gonna switch gears a little bit because I have a like an education background too, and I know you had did a reading program. I was reading that part, so I have found this article in Forbes. I wanted to get your take on this because I talk to people about this all the time. It says on national tests last year, only 18% of black fourth graders scored proficient or above in reading. The figure for white fourth graders was 45%. For eighth graders, the percentages were 15 and 42%. It's sobering that more than half of the white students failed to meet the proficiency bar, but the figures for black students should outrage anyone who cares about social justice.
Now, so that gives me goosebumps. That really like it puts me in a place because it brings me back. Because when I started the after school program and I was doing it, right, I didn't know what I could give these kids. So I went to the schools and I was like, yo, what's the best thing you could give a child? Like, what's the best information? I got these kids, these kids, their parents dropped them off and we playing dodgeball all day and I know this is not it.
Not what we supposed to be doing.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Kids are athletic as hell, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what else can we do? You know?
Right.
And then this teacher hit me something. She like, yo, this will always hit with me. It said, you learn to read, then you read to learn. You know what I mean? So that fourth grade test is where you that's when it flips over. You spend from kindergarten to fourth grade learning to read, and then you read to learn. You know, and so it's a sobering fact because it's like those kids, they're never gonna really learn because they haven't learned to read. You feel me? And I think that like that goes to a system of like, and that's a failure on I think on society because you can only blame the schools so much that the parents also have to take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The biggest thing you could do to a kid is read to him at night.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
Statistically. You know what I mean? So that's why I was just like, we ain't doing nothing. Don't bring no math blocks in here. We doing reading.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I realized like that, and then you gotta think because reading at the highest level of reading is comprehension. You know what I mean? And so I think that like to hear that fact is sad because like that is where we're lacking, right? Because like you gotta think about for so many years, that's why they didn't want us reading. That's why they didn't want us like to do that because it's the reading that'll really start like getting the motors going, start like, you know what I mean, start things happening. So I think it's a failure on multiple parts, right? And we know that how our schools are built, right? Yep. Like the funding and then like, but it's also, and I can't blame us. I don't think it's like a us problem. Yeah. I mean, that's not gonna be my pulpit to sit on today, you know what I mean? But like my opinion on it is that like, I think that there has to be a lot of initiatives and a focus on like, we don't gotta do a lot of things, but like if you got a child out there, like getting them to read, like getting them to just like uniquely enjoy that will change everything. You know what I mean? And I remember I was working when I was back in Atlanta, I had a kid, right? And this kid's in like the 10th grade right now. But I remember when he was 5, and his mom, he had come from Dominican Republic, and his mom was like, he's about to fail. Like they about to keep him back in kindergarten. He doesn't know his ABCs. So we just every day we had him doing ABCs. Right. And then eventually, like, you know what I mean? He came back the next year and we started doing, she was like, well, he don't know all his sounds. Like, you know what I mean? And we kept doing sounds. And then like, by the time I kind of left the program, he was in the 6th grade and he could fully read, but it was like, he was sitting there reading a book, but he had the passion for it. You know what I mean? But I realized that you got to build that. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to really build that into our kids. And I think that like, it sounds so simple, but like realistically, like when do we sit down and read books? Right. You get what I'm saying? Like you have your kid, you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of parents, they're gonna teach our kids to dance. So when the uncle come around, they be like, go ahead, do your dance.
Right.
Do your dance. You know what I mean? Do your dance. Do your dance.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't be like, read that book, son. Tell them that big word you know. And I think that like that has to be a little happenstance there, because that right there, I think correlates to our ability to now be innovative.
Yeah.
That correlates to our ability and our confidence to go into some of these rooms and like fight for what we want. You know, so how y'all feel about it? I feel like I've been talking too much. But
No.
That's why we're here. We're here to get it from you.
Yeah,
man.
that's
I
amazing.
I think it's like you said, bro. I think it's a layered thing, because I talk to some of my friends about this all the time, especially being in the schools. Like I was doing counseling for a long time, and
that's a rough one.
Yeah, it's rough, because you could also see, it's like you said, if they're not getting it from the parents, bro, those your first teachers, then it's going to be hard for you to go, and like you already behind the 8 ball. You know what I'm saying? I had high school kids, like I'm talking about senior year, like asking me to read stuff to them, like legit, like trying to get to college. You know what I'm saying? Star football players, like they could do that, but when it came to just reading their homework, you know, and that's the part that hurt. You know what I mean? So I think it has to be a real emphasis, you know, on the household. Who you laying with, you know what I'm saying? Just got to be real about it, you know, coming up with a plan, even if you're not together, you know, and, you know, really putting that child first, you know, in conjunction with having those programs. Because I know how much those after-school programs did for me, you know what I'm saying? And we had parents that, like, read to us, you know what I'm saying? But still being able to have, I could go into my after-school program and I had, like, a black accountant major who was teaching me math.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had someone who was in an English teacher, a black English teacher, you know what I'm saying? So they was feeding you books to read too. You know, so I think you got to get it from multiple angles, man. It's like they always say it takes a village. You know, that's a real thing. It takes a village, but, you know, it definitely does start with your one at home.
Yeah, it does. And the village part is interesting, because I remember in college I took a course and they was talking about what we lack a lot is like, are those secondary connections.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not like your parents could do an example, but it's validated externally.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I ain't listened to my pops till like an OG in the street kind of said the same thing, and I was like, I bet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like,
He was right.
Yeah, he was kind of right. You know what I mean? Like, you be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. You see, like, your homegirl, your mom say something, but like, when your homegirl say something, you like, you know, like, come on, I ain't even trying to hear that. You know what I mean? And so it's that level of like you said, but we don't have, because our communities are kind of disjointed a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's just be honest, right? There's not so, and that was architect. I'm not gonna get deep on y'all. You know what I mean? This ain't the Dr. Umar podcast,
Hey, look,
but you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to you. You know what I mean? But it's the level of like the fact of like we don't have those secondaries. We don't have enough of those accountants living in the same spaces with our kids and our children, and so they're not seeing that level of investment in them.
Yeah.
Right. So then like their parents could be on it, but like you in a community that's not validating that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's tough, you know, because I was one of those kids, you know, and I got lucky because, and the reason why I was so like big on like going back and doing after school program, because that's what I had. I had that little program, that the same one I was working at, that's where I was learning to read. That's where, like, you know, like you said, the college kids was coming in, and I was like, oh, shoot, I want to go to college just like you.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
and
important.
so.
It's crazy to see how much, like, all of the ones I had basically growing up don't exist no more. I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Where y'all from?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Mom was in San Francisco. Dad was in Oakland. So it was, it's crazy going back, man. And you see, and it's really crazy. You know, you was in the Bay Area. It's so much money up there. It's like how we don't have the funding to be able to keep this kind of stuff open.
Listen, it's wild. So so my boy was working at a school in East Oakland called Roots Academy.
Okay, I heard of that one.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, I heard of
Roots
that one.
Academy, and we worked, and they shut it down. And it was like the most like weird thing, because I would leave. I'd be in the financial district with a bunch of people getting free lunch. Get on the BART, go all the way down. Right? Go all the way down to like over there by like the Coliseum. We get off at Coliseum and have to walk all the way up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like it was just like, what's this lunch looking like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like such a disparity, especially in the Bay Area, because it's just like it's like night and day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you said, so it's crazy the fact that like your programs aren't there, because you would think that people would have came in and reinvested.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just that. So it's just crazy, man.
Yeah, man, it's so crazy because I literally go back to some of these schools and it's wild too, bro. Because some of these schools, like, you can't put it all on them, but it's like schools I know for sure that it's like it's super $1 million athletes that went to these like schools in the projects, and I'm like, bro, we couldn't get them like donate some computers or something. Like it hurts when you go back and see that kind of stuff, man. So I really don't know what the solution is all the way, but I know it needs to be addressed. I mean, we got to talk about it. Hopefully that sparks some ideas.
Each one teach one. That's what they say. You know what I mean? I think if I could give any advice, is like, yo, if you got little cousins, if you got a couple kids in your neighborhood, like, yo, just look out for them. Like, because I think that, like, on a bigger scale, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, we can't save them. I think at that time when I started out school, I said, I'm gonna save the world. Right, you know what I'm talking about. You went into education. You was a counselor.
You was like, bro, I can't get all of them. But
you know what it was? Yo, peep this. This is the mindset you had. You had lean on me in your head.
Yeah.
You was like Miss Levice. So you was like, you was all over in that joint walking around, like, you know what I mean?
Bro, head in the clouds, like, bro.
You thought you was Joe Clark.
Yeah,
you know, and it was just like, and then what happens is enough of us. It's like a ringer, right? I call it the nonprofit burnout.
Yeah.
Right? Like we go back into our neighborhoods, we go into our spaces, and it's like we serve, and like we keep serving and we keep pounding the pavement, and then we get tired.
Yep.
And then the bills come.
Yep.
And then you just like, oh, crap. Like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you know what? And then the other thing is that, like, them kids is violating you too. You know what I mean? Them kids is violating you too. So you like, this kid calling me a loser. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had a kid like talk to me. He's like, you broke. I said, I kind of am broke, but I'm working for you. I'm trying to help you, bro.
That's hilarious.
You know what I mean?
Hey, yo.
I'm gonna go get this money then, brother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No more field trips for you,
exactly, man. You know what I mean? Give me this cookie. You know what I'm saying?
Give me this cookie.
So you stuck in a space, you know?
Real talk, bro. No, for real. Where do you see? So I think the reading is one part of it. We got a friend of ours too. I feel like he's like one of the only ones though. Like Idris Sandu, he's been doing like work with Diddy and like Jay
Jay-Z.
and all of them, like just helping build apps and things like that. But I feel like the black tech people need to be the new superheroes, bro. Those need to be our new celebrities, because I feel like that's the way everything is going. And like on one hand, you said like the reading comprehension, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And I think the next thing is how we coding, how we getting our kids into cybersecurity.
For sure.
You know, because you gotta have people who can influence the young ones to get there. Like, you gotta, of course, provide the services, but it's like, how do we make that cool for everybody? And I feel like part of it is like getting folks like you on, of course, so you guys can really talk about it. But how do you think we should kind of start breaking them into that?
So, I think, fact check me here, but I think from our experience, we're still very early in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Like black tech, Afro tech, and all that is only like, what, like 5 or 6 years old?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember, like probably 2017, 2018 when I heard about it,
So it's like when you think about, and then when you think about the average tech company, the population of black, and you could add Latinx, is only probably like 10%, if that, right? So there's a few of us. So it becomes a conundrum. There's a few of us in the building that could do the work, right? But going into the work, it's taxing being in there.
Right.
Right? And then you gotta think about, if you in that building, right, low key, statistically, you probably made it for your people.
Right. That's it.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
the end of the line.
You know what I mean? It's you.
Right.
It's you. You know what I mean? Grandma gets sick.
All right.
It's you.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You got to send that money back. So
Right.
it's like, like I said, it's an opportunity cost, right? Like I said, like we don't have the capital to take that risk.
Right.
You getting that first Google check, you need to ride that out for a couple years.
Yeah.
You need to get that money, because like no one's gonna just want, okay, you did a year somewhere. Okay, now you want to be like this tech guru?
Right.
Like, you got to put in your time. You got to do the work, and it's so early in the game. So it's like a lot of our superheroes, you know what I mean? They still in the cryo chamber.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Real
They still
talk.
in the chamber leveling up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's gonna happen, but I think that like in the same time we're working on it. I know that there's a lot of like coding boot camps and stuff that are happening that are hitting this, that are hitting like all these like Boys and Girls Club clubs and spaces like that. Yep. I think that's important because those kids are actually going to be the ones. They're going to be doing it from like when they were little. They like
all the way up, right? That's
all
what
the
it
way
is.
up, right? So I always tell like people, I'm like, yo, my kids, they always going to go to basketball camp and they definitely going to go to coding boot camp.
Right there.
Yeah.
Those are two joints my son and daughter are going to have to hit. Right. You're going to pick some. You know what I'm saying?
Pick some. I love that.
Look, even if you pick basketball, you got to have a career afterwards.
For sure.
You need a career afterwards, bro.
No. You still gonna have to code a basketball game.
Right. That's it.
You know what I mean? Make sure it happens. So to answer your question, I think that one, we're early in the stage, and two, I think that like the next generation is gonna come at it a lot faster than we did, right? Because we kind of lost that. Like a lot of us are like coming into it, and the people that are the engineers that are going into it, they gotta like, they're in the cryo chamber. They gotta build out the apps. They gotta figure it out. You know, get the experience. Because if you do that 10%, right? That's like, let's say like realistically, it's like 5% at a company of like black, right? Out of that, most of those people aren't managers. They're individual contributors, right? 2-3 years of experience, right? And because of microaggressions or whatever, they don't even stay,
right?
You know, so the people that like stay and become managers and have the influence, it takes them 10 years,
right?
It's true.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I feel like we at the beginning of the Renaissance. Yeah. You know, and so I think that like, because we're at the beginning of Renaissance, we got to be patient, but like, you know, the money's flowing for them. You know what I mean? So
plan for the technical Renaissance.
Yeah.
For sure. What is in the, I guess let's say the immediate future for you and the company?
Oh man, yo, I'm gonna tell y'all something that's like very interesting. I haven't said that today. I literally resigned from my job today.
What? You're kidding.
Dead serious. My last day, this is another funny thing.
I was trying to drop a clue bomb to that, but I ain't have it on the track.
That's what he said. Boom! Yeah. So you know what I mean? So
congratulations,
appreciate
brother.
Appreciate that. So my last day is July 1st, which is my birthday. So I'm like, yo, I'm going back up to the Bay to kind of like say the goodbyes and everything. So I'm gonna take some quick little R&R, and I think the next time I've been blessed that I bought myself the time to like really do the deep research right here, right? So now it's like, now that I've been to enough booths, I made enough loose connections. Now it's like, okay, let's get on the phone, let's talk about it, let's see what the problem is. Like, I could meet someone at 3 p.m. and really give them the time and the energy. You know, so that's really what's next is like, now it's building the portfolios and really understanding what are the issues with our businesses and then building around that. You know, because that's what I realized what these other founders are able to do, right? Because when I listened to a podcast on the founders of Airbnb, and they were like, they had all like the first people that were doing Airbnbs were in New York, and they were at an accelerator in San Francisco, and they told them, go to New York and like just talk to your users. And so you got to think, well, these guys are flying from SF to New York on the regular, just talking to their users all day. First I thought about was like, that's expensive. Right. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a lot of money for you to just be doing that, just tinkering around. You know what I mean? But I think that like I've afforded myself enough in a situation now that I can really sit here and give the time and the space for it. So that's really what it's said. The next 3 to 6 months is just locking in, seeing if something's there. You know what I mean? And hopefully at that point we can build something and we can have a ecosystem going. You know, so it's definitely it's an anxious time, it's a nauseous time. You know what I mean? My mom's just kind of like, hey, boy, you know,
what's going on? What's going on?
I ain't really fully told her. I told her like, you know, I'm like, we're going through a little transition at work. You know what I'm saying? You know, I ain't really. I'm keep it honest.
You didn't give her the whole thing.
I ain't give her the whole thing. You know what I mean? But it's like that's what's next with me is just like trying to make that transition and you know what I mean. Hopefully, like I honestly feel like God has put this in my spirit. You know what I mean? And I've been fighting it, so it's like, okay, cool. I got to step up. You know what I mean? He gonna take care of it, but I gotta take care of it too. You know, so the next thing is just like stepping into it. And seeing what's really happening. You know, and
oh my God.
So
that's awesome.
I tell folks the same thing, man. It's like, you're gonna go for it, like you go for it, bro. Straight up, like you believe in it, do it.
Yeah, but it's harder when rent due.
It's harder when rent due.
You know what I mean? You know, this is an expensive building.
Especially in California. Everywhere in California. The project's expensive in California.
Exactly. So it's like, it's an interesting place to chase your dream, you know? But I've realized what was it? I don't even feel like I'm chasing a dream no more. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm trying to set up a vision. You know what I mean? And I'm in like situations like this, where this. Thank y'all for having me, because this is damn near therapeutic. You know what I mean? And so it's like being able to tell the story, and like it's more of a vision now. You know, so but like. You got to wake up every day and do it. Yeah. You know, so like next 3 Tuesdays from now, I got to get up and like make it happen. Yeah. You know, and so that's really what the next step is, like getting up on like them random days and making it happen, and trying to go through it in the mundane. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to look real big CEO boss stuff. It's going to be me sitting in my office by myself with some coffee, trying to like making it happen. Trying to on the phone, trying to get WordPress to work, and like you know what I mean. And then like website went down, so it's just but it's leaning into that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Nah, for sure. And I think, hey man, I was just talking to my mom about this, but it's like I think every entrepreneur, creative, whatever it is, whatever your vision is, you could be a teacher. You know what I'm saying? I think it gets to a point where whatever spiritual connection you got, like you feel like it's already laid out. Like you just got to follow the steps. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that comes to people in different ways, but it's almost a weight lifted. Like it had to be a certain type of comfort you had. Maybe not comfortable, but it's like you're comfortable with now quitting the job, you know, to move on to do this. You know what I'm saying? It takes something in you, like it's something in there that says this is the proper move to make. And I think when you get to that, like the steps is already lined up. You know, even if they're still being revealed to you, you taking that step, the proper step to get where you need to be.
For sure. No, and I appreciate them words, man, because it is scary. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you said, like I could believe it in my spirit. Yeah. I could feel it. Yeah. But then like other people gonna start saying, "Are you sure?" Yeah. So you start doubting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to continue to go back in. You know, and I think a quote from MLK said it. He said like, "It's not really about the whole path. It's just about this foot. You just need to see just right in front of you." Mm-hmm. That's it. You know what I mean? So realistically, when you said that, I got anxious because I'm like, I don't have a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. I got these next 6 months. Mm-hmm. like you know what I'm saying? That's it. Yeah. Like I don't know, like 6 months from now it may all change, but like that's all I got, you know. Yeah. But it does feel like, all right, cool, like, you know, I'm with it. Like you know, I hear you. Yeah. I hear you, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like sitting and staying, I'd have been ignoring something that was like kind of you know.
What's the biggest thing you feel like you need right now to continue flourishing and to...
I like that word too.
I know,
flourishing.
Flourishing.
About $1 million.
Hey, look.
I mean, about $1 million. No, you know what I mean? If we not, capital. I need, and I think...
For everyone listening.
Absolutely, because I think that, like, you know what? I think as people, we get passive about that. Mm-hmm. I've been in Silicon Valley. I've been around the people, man. They trying to get that bread so they can make it happen. Right. Simple. You can't play me. Don't go tell me to go do all this. Mm-hmm. Y'all had some money to make this happen. Mm-hmm. Right. Period. You know, so like that's one of the things. But also I think the support of us, I think that like I'm still looking for people that want to come on and join and like come on to different places, from social media to graphic designers to web engineers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To shooters, you know what I'm saying? To like people that just want to come on and take contract work, different brands that want to do it. I think that I'm trying to help build the ecosystem. So so to answer the thing, I think it's capital, and I think it's also just people. Right? Like people that would just want to join and continue to work through it, and also that will come with the patience, right? Because it's going to take time to build, and I think that we're not so patient with each other. You know what I'm saying? What's the brand that they recently just ripped online? Forget what it was. She had the feminine product, and they changed the formula.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. What was Honeypot.
Honeypot, right? Mm-hmm. And so Honeypot was like it's a feminine hygiene product, and so it didn't have paraffins, it didn't have like any chemicals in it, and they had to switch up the bottle. Right. And so someone said, "Hey, they switched up the bottle on us. They done sold the brand, whoop-de-whoop." And then sis was like, "Hey, I had to scale. I had to make you know what I mean? I had to change the product because like." We're a company and we have to like shift things. We couldn't give the same thing. Yeah. And it's crazy because people were like, well, you sold out, you did all these things, you let us down. And it was like, you know what? She probably doesn't have a product marketing team. Right. Mm-hmm. She didn't have someone to be like, hey, we're making this switch. How do we tell our customers this? Right. You know what I mean? And so I think the other thing is that like as a whole, it's just like when you have those pieces, you can you don't have to deal with that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I think that like just patience from us is something that like just needs to be built in. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get that, but like, you know what I mean? So it's money, it's people, and a little patience from my people.
Yeah, bro, I love that though, man. And that's honest and that's real. So whoever listening, hey, we're gonna have all your contact in there. So we need people reaching out to you for everything you just said.
For sure.
Graphic designers, shooters,
everybody,
whatever, interns. All of that.
Oh, for sure. And like one of my lines, if you know me, is creatives create. You know what I'm saying? This is like, yo, this is lovely. I love this. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is about. And so I'm all about creation. That's why when you said, yo, boom, podcast, I said, say less, we out.
We doing it. We doing it.
Let's do it.
So I want you to, close the show out, man. Just any words of wisdom or anything you just might want to end the show with that you want people to know.
Shoot, you put me on the spot.
Absolutely, hey, because I know you can handle it.
You know he good for that.
I appreciate it. I just want to say, like, hey, like if you are trying to make something happen, like, you don't have to go big. I think that's a misconception. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like, if you want to make something happen, if you really care about something, it doesn't have to be at a grandiose level. Like, you know what I mean? Wake up and do a little bit. Yeah. And then the next day do a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're going to wake up and after a couple months, after a year, you're going to do a lot. But it's going to be off that little bit. You know what I mean? And you asked a great question before. It's like some people don't want to jump because they see everybody else, but it's like, just do your little bit. If you do your little bit, you're going to get there. You know what I mean? I think that like that's how I got here. You know what I'm saying? I had to buy a ticket. I had to think about it. I had to call somebody. I had to get to the Bay. Right. I had to understand what the Bay was popping. Then I had to understand what role I wanted in tech. Then I had to figure it out. Then I had to then I had to change my resume. Right. Then I had to like apply. You know what I mean? It was a bunch of small steps that even got me to this room. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's not really about like that big piece. Sometimes it's just about just doing your little bit, you know? So.
Fred from the Flourish Factory. We love you, brother. Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all. Real talk.
And we're going to be bringing you back real soon.
Real talk. Appreciate y'all.
That was great.